Everyone goes to Versailles, but what if you could visit a chateau about 25 minutes by train from Paris that is more peaceful than Versailles, has the second largest collection of antique art in France outside of the Louvre, it has the second largest collection of illuminated medieval manuscripts in all of France, including one called the most beautiful manuscript in the world. Here we will also find the prototypes for both Marie Antoinette's Hamlet at Versailles and the famous Versailles fountains, plus the world's most famous whipped cream and an entirely secret bedchamber here that isn't open to the public. We are going to be visiting the historic and stunning Chateau of Chantilly in France. I'm going to walk you through the whole chateau. We're going to talk about notes on how to make the most of a visit out here with some practical info I learned on this trip. Let's dig into the history of this beautiful chateau and the story of the man who made it what it is today. The chateau as we see it here today consists of two attached buildings, which are the Grand Chateau, which had been originally built for Anne de Montmorency between 1528 and 1531, and the Petit Chateau, built for him again around 1560. It stayed in his family until the execution of the fourth Duke of Montmorency in 1632, when the chateau passed to his nephew, Louis de Bourbon, the Prince de Conde, who would be known to history as the Grand Conde. The Grand Chateau here was destroyed during the French Revolution and then confiscated from the Orleans family between 1853 and 1872, during which time it was owned by an English bank. It was rebuilt between 1875 and 1882 by Henri d'Orléans, the Duc d'Aumale, and thank goodness the renovation remained, because at the time, a contemporary review of Chantilly said of the new chateau, quote, "What is today styled a marvel is one of the saddest specimens of the architecture of our era. One enters on the second floor and descends to the salons." Gasp. Some interesting trivia before we get started. The Chateau hosted one of Molière's plays with its first performance here in 1659. The famous writer of the Louis XIV era, Mme de Clinchamps, related in her memoirs that when King Louis XIV visited here in 1671, the maître d'hôtel of the Grand Conde, one Francois Vatel, actually committed suicide when he feared that the fish would be served late. I hope that's not true. The chateau and the stables here have also featured multiple times in films and as backdrops, the most famous of which, for me of course, being the 1985 Bond film A View to a Kill with Roger Moore, where it featured as the home of the villain Max Azorin, played by Christopher Walken. What we're really here for, besides the chateau though, is the history of the Duc d'Aumale, who renovated it and left it as it appears today. The Duke's history is worth diving into. He was the fifth son of the last king of France, Louis Philippe I, and Queen Maria Amalia, who was a niece of Marie Antoinette. The Duke was born at the Palais Royal in Paris. At the age of 8, he inherited today's equivalent of $268 million, as well as properties which included the Chateau of Chantilly, the Chateau d'Ecouen, and many others. At age 22, he married his first cousin, Princess Maria Carolina of the Two Sicilies, who was also descended from a cousin of Marie Antoinette. His mother and her father were full siblings, and her parents were also, I would say, a skosh too close. Her father having married his niece and double first cousin. This probably explains why a lot of these families had stillborn births and many children who didn't survive to adulthood. Of the Duke and Duchess's 8 children, only 2 reached young adulthood, both dying by the age of 20, leaving the Duke without descendants, and the title of Prince de Conde died when the Duke's son Louis died at the age of 20 in 1866 while on a world tour in Australia. After the lesser-known French Revolution of 1848, which I had never heard of, where the Duke's father, King Louis Philippe, was forced to abdicate and the monarchy was abolished for a second time, the Duke retired to live in England, where his exiled father also spent the remainder of his life, and where the Duke and Duchess's second child to survive childhood was born, Francois, the Duke of Guise. The Duke's wife, Maria Carolina, died at age 47 in England of a pulmonary embolism in 1869, and their remaining son, Francois, returned to France in 1871 with his father, the Duke, after the earlier Napoleon III laws of exile were repealed. After a period of fragile health, Francois also died young from scarlet fever in Paris at the age of 18 in 1872. In 1886, yet another law was passed in France which exiled the heads of France's former reigning families out of the territories and decreed that all members of those families also be disqualified from holding any public position or from election to any public body, which the Duc d'Aumale protested because he had a long history of military and public service, but he was exiled anyway. As with politics throughout the ages, though, after learning that the Duke had bequeathed the Château de Chantilly to the Institut de France in his 1884 will, the government quietly withdrew his decree of exile, and he returned to France in 1889. The Duke was considered the greatest collector of his era, and he rebuilt the chateau to showcase his collection of masterpieces, including paintings by Renaissance masters, precious manuscripts, and royal furniture. As a tribute to his predecessors, the princes of Conde, he called the museum rooms here the Conde Museum. The layout of the paintings here has remained unchanged since his time, giving us a feeling of time traveling where you can walk through these galleries and see them exhibited as people of his own time would have seen them, which is just about amazing. The gallery of painting here is the heart of the museum, of course, with the 85 paintings laid out in no chronological order, just according to the taste of the Duke. And at the end, in the rotunda here, there are Italian Renaissance masterpieces like the Madonna of Lorenzo by Raphael. The blue room, called the Santuario, was designed to showcase the masterpieces owned by the Duke, including 2 more works by Raphael, the Three Graces, and the Madonna of the House of Orleans, and a panel depicting the story of Esther, and 40 miniatures by Fouquet. The room called the Tribune is designed to present a panorama of art history with 2 walls devoted to the Renaissance. You can see Botticelli and Titian, a wall devoted to French and Dutch schools of the 16 and 1700s like Van Dyck, and 2 other walls exhibiting the works of 1800s France with works by greats like Ingres and Delacroix. The Chateau room houses Italian works from the 1300s through the 1600s. The Duke especially loved Italian paintings, as we can see throughout the museum. This beautiful green hall here with the beautiful windows and ceiling is the Psyche Gallery. It features 44 stained glass windows depicting the story of Psyche from mythology. These windows came from the Château de Conde. These panels were commissioned by Anne de Montmorency around 1542 to 1544, who then owned that chateau, and they were moved to the Château de Chantilly. The Stag Gallery, which I think of as a dining room, was created at the end of the 1800s in Renaissance style and was used as a reception and dining room. Every Sunday, the Duke would receive artistic and intellectual elites here. The 8 tapestries on the wall here were woven in the 1600s by the famous Royal Gobelins Manufacturing Company, modeled after the famous Hunt of Maximilian tapestries, which you can see at the Louvre. They are amazing, enormous, and gorgeous. And the handwritten menus here on the table are just absolutely fascinating. Take your time and go through this and look at each one of these. They're stunning. Here we have the prince's bedroom with the desk and pink chairs. This was the entrance to the Prince de Condé's suite. The woodwork was created around 1720 for the 7th Prince of Condé, Louis-Henri de Bourbon, minister of Louis XV. The original furnishings were lost during the Revolution, but the chest of drawers here was originally commissioned for Louis XVI's Versailles bedroom. This beautiful large corner room with the white satin 4-way seat that I love was the Prince de Condé's office and where he held audiences. The woodwork here dates from around 1720. The chairs are from the reign of Louis XVI, and the fireplace screen belonged to the Count of Provence, who became Louis XVIII. The Grande Singerie, this amazing white and gold boudoir, was decorated in the 1700s in a popular Asian style, entirely decorated around 1737 with mural paintings. If you look, these are all pictures of monkeys depicted as doing various human activities. The Gallery of Battles, the long hall here with murals, is the most spacious room in the suites and was used as the reception room for the princes of Condé, decorated at the end of the 1600s for the Grand Condé Louis II of Bourbon-Condé by the principal architect of Louis XIV. It features 11 paintings commemorating the military victories of the Grand Condé in chronological order. The blue guard room antechamber here was added at the end of the 1800s to connect the large and small chateau. The mineral cabinet here was a gift to Prince Louis-Joseph de Condé in 1774 by the King of Sweden as a thank you gift after he visited the Château de Chantilly. The music room was named so for the 1800s harp here belonging to the Duc d'Aumale's wife. In the 1700s, this had been the natural history room for the princes of Condé, with the gilded wood furniture here commissioned by King Louis XVI, originally for the games room at the Château de Saint-Cloud. The library here, oh my goodness, it's worth coming out here just for this. The library is in the Petit Chateau. It houses one of the most extensive libraries in France, with the number of illuminated manuscripts here second only to the National Library of France. The collection was started by various owners of the chateau and added to by the Duke, who was the greatest bibliophile of his time and actually called himself a bibliomaniac. He would purchase whole collections and single books from sellers all over Europe. He especially was interested in the most ancient, the most rare, and the most precious books to add to his collection, especially anything about classical literature, the history of France, illuminated manuscripts, and major pieces of medieval art. Known as the Reading Room, it was designed at the end of the 1800s as a showcase for these treasures. The bust over the fireplace honors the Grand Condé. Of the 60,000 volumes in the Chantilly collection, the current library houses about 1,500 manuscripts, 17,500 printed volumes, and hundreds of illuminated medieval manuscripts dating from as far back as 983 AD. It also houses what is considered to be the most beautiful manuscript in the world, the very famous Très riche de Duc de Berry, which is one of the most precious manuscripts in the world. It is the most famous and admired piece here, commissioned by Duke John I of Berry in the 1400s. The Duc d'Aumale acquired it in Genoa in 1856. Because it is extremely fragile, it cannot be displayed, but you can see a digital version of it. In order to maintain the look of books in this room, the entrance door is covered with fake shelves and the stairway going up is invisible. The iron shelves are trimmed in leather, and I wish I could have just sat in the corner and read in this room. This is such a stunning place. This was one of the Duke's favorite rooms, and I absolutely would have to agree with that. Outside of the reading room, the Condé Museum also houses the Chateau's extensive archives, which have been kept since the 11th century, including the papers of the powerful Montmorency and Bourbon-Condé families, the Duc d'Aumale's private archives and correspondence, and I wish we could see all of them. There are 80,000 letters, 8,000 maps, and 3,000 boxes of archives contained here, but that would probably require a whole separate trip and some very special permission. Temporary exhibits of these things rotate through the reading room all year, but don't forget that to get into this reading room you need to have bought a separate ticket for, I believe, about €3, and you can buy it on site as I had to, but they will turn you away at the door to the library. You can't just wander in. So you can buy one online when you buy your tickets ahead, or you can be sent away like I was and go find one to buy. I think I bought it. I might have had to go, I feel like it was here that I had to go downstairs to the gift shop to get my ticket and go back into the library. And here we have the entry into the beautiful chapel of Chantilly. Do not skip this if you come here. This was rebuilt in 1882 for the Duke and dedicated to Saint Louis. This beautiful space holds the tombs of several members of the House of Orléans, as well as the embalmed hearts of the princes of Condé. Here you will see this magnificent altarpiece from the 1500s, salvaged from the Château de Voyennes. It depicts the sacrifice of Isaac. It was dismantled during the Revolution and reinstalled here at Chantilly for the Duke. The stained glass windows here date to 1544 and portray the Constable Anne de Montmorency and his family. One of the most intimate secrets at Chantilly is one you will not see. There is a secret bedchamber hidden behind a door in the music room that we visited earlier. There is a video that they have posted that takes you on a tour of these rooms. These were the private chambers of a woman named Mme de Clinchamps, who was originally a lady-in-waiting to the Duke's wife, and after his wife died, she became his companion for the rest of his life. Rumors abound that she may have been his secret wife. Her bedchamber directly adjoins his, and you can still see the original woodwork, her original furniture, and the private bathroom that is contained within this little suite of chambers. Very interesting, but not open to the public. Once I had walked through the chateau, I had just enough time for lunch, and there's a restaurant here, back in down a hallway. What I will tell you is if you get here and you are looking for lunch before exactly 12 p.m., you will find this. Here's a restroom and a vending machine and a door with no sign, but there is a menu. The door is locked. The menu is apparently, there's a restaurant here, so we knew we were in the right place. Some tourists and I were like, well, this must be it. At noon, they open the door and you can go right in and have a beautiful lunch right here, which is a terrific little spot. And I had this delicious egg dish. Oh my goodness, it was so good. I can't remember what it was called, but it was perfect. And then for dessert, of course, I had to try I would call it a profiterole with the beautiful Chantilly cream, which the Chateau is famous for. After lunch, I actually skipped going into the gardens and exploring them. They are over 300 acres. It was March, so there wasn't a lot to see, but they would be worth a visit. They were designed by Louis XIV's famous Versailles garden architect, the great André Le Nôtre. There is the famous Beauvais fountain here, which is the first of its kind to have running water for a fountain. It's the prototype for the fountains that were then done at Versailles. Instead of the gardens, I went from here over to the Great Stables to see the equestrian exhibit that takes place around 2 or 2:30 in the afternoon, and the Museum of the Horse that is there. I will be doing that video next. And there's a wacky legend about why the Great Stables are so big. Let's talk about practicalities of visiting here. If you are planning to come out to Chantilly and do it right, I would plan for 2 days, if not maybe 3 days, to see the entire chateau. If you want to see the gardens, if you want to maybe go on a horseback ride on the grounds, there's a racetrack here with races you can see. There are specialty horse shows you can look out for. There's a garden show in the fall. There is every other year, there's an international fireworks competition. Every May there is a rowing regatta. So there are many, many things that you can sign up for and get a ticket for on the website. Make sure you go check out their website and find a combo ticket if you need to for all of the events that work for you and make a full weekend out of it. Also, here's a mistake to not make. When you get your ticket online, print it out on paper and take it with you. I actually walked in with my paper copy and got right through the gate, but there were people at the gate and the guy with the barcode reader could not get their digital copy to read, so they were having trouble getting in. If you stay at the Auberge de Palme where I stayed, it's the closest you can get to the chateau, and the shuttle driver told me it was like a 2-minute walk. It's almost a mile. It's not a 2-minute walk. So it's more or less flat and sloped. It's not a lot of hills and not a lot of stairs out, to get to the chateau, but it is a lot of miles, so just be ready to walk quite a few miles. Definitely worth staying at the hotel there. They will shuttle you back and forth to the train station, and they will hold your luggage if you want to ride horses or if you want to go to the chateau when you first get there. So definitely a great weekend, but I would make it a long weekend and just enjoy the heck out of this beautiful place and see everything it has to offer. Let us know if you are going or if you've been. We always love to hear about it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.